where I worked as a salesperson, I worked as a delivery agent. At that point of time, I was wondering why I was doing this, but now when I look back, I think that's the best experience that I've had.
Can somebody who is an introvert and watching this, can they also think of a career in sales and marketing?
Absolutely. It's not just about being creative. It is a lot more about analyzing data.
There are instances where there are people reporting to you
Yes.
who are elders to you. Was that a challenge for you?
You're right. So I think this is a challenge that everyone faces. So when I would go to market with them, I would just have general conversations which are not work related, but just about their personal life, about their children, about their family, their interests, what they like doing outside of work. And I think that helped break the ice.
Role of a sales and marketing professional changed because of AI. And what about career progressions? So now for students who are aspiring for a career in sales and marketing, right? What skills they should start developing?
You can bucket this into two categories. The first would be your hard skills and the second would be your soft skills. So when it comes to hard skills, I think one of the most important things would be the
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Future You. In this episode, we have Isha with us, and she has spent 4 years working in sales and marketing after her MBA from JBIMS. In today's interaction, we are going to focus on careers in sales and marketing. Let's get started. Thanks, Isha.
Hi sir, thank you so much for having me.
It feels very weird because we are meeting after 6 years nearly. I think the last time I met you is when you converted JBIMS. So let's start with your introduction. So if you can
Sure.
help the audience about your background.
Sure. So I'm born and brought up in Mumbai. I'm from a family of doctors actually. And I did my undergrad degree in law from Gujarat National University, post which like you said, I pursued my MBA in marketing from JBIMS in Mumbai. I was an intern with Pepsico, and then I was received a PPO, and I joined as a management trainee. Post which I did my ASM stint, and then I was the perfect store lead for India. Recently, I moved back to Mumbai, and I've joined Mondelez in the headquarters based out of Mumbai, and I'm currently the national program manager for the retail environment.
So let's start with the first part, right? So pre-MBA. So you're doing your law. So what made you choose career in management? Because a lot of students, of course, continue to have a career in law. So what made you make that transition?
So while I did love my time in law school, and I look back on those memories very fondly, I think in law as a lawyer, there are two aspects to law when you're working in a law firm. So the first would be it would be an advisory role, and the second would be implementational in nature. While I did enjoy the advisory role, I realized that my heart and my interest lies with the implementational part, where I like to see the execution and I like to have ownership of the project that I'm working on. And I felt that doing an MBA and moving to marketing is something that would provide me this opportunity where I would be able to see the real time execution of my ideas and strategy in play. So I think this was the core reason for me to make this decision and move from law to sales and marketing.
Okay, and so after JBIMS, so
Yes.
during JBIMS, so you're always keen on sales and marketing, or was there a doubt that maybe there's something else that I want to try out during my MBA?
No, I was actually always very keen on sales and marketing. That was something that so for me, sales and marketing is something that's very creative. And not just from the visual point of view, not just from making the TVCs or creating the POSMs, but also from the data analysis point of view, the strategizing point of view. Because when you identify a problem or when you identify opportunities, you look at creative ways in which you're going to go ahead and solve the problem or make use of that opportunity. And I think this again ties in with what I have been doing since I was a child. So I'm very interested in the creative aspects. So I'm a dancer, I'm a Kathak dancer, and a Western music singer. So I think that ties in with that aspect. So it was a but natural choice for me to decide and to take marketing over finance or any other specialization.
Okay, so since you mentioned this, a lot of students think that you have to be an extrovert to make a career in
Yeah.
marketing. So do you think that is really important? Can somebody who is an introvert and watching this, can they also think of a career in sales and marketing?
Absolutely. I don't think you need to be an extrovert to be in sales and marketing, because there are a lot of roles, and in general also sales and marketing is not just about it's not just about being creative. It is a lot more about analyzing data. A lot of it is about analyzing data, identifying the gaps, identifying the white spaces, and also understanding how are you going to execute your ideas in the market. So it's not just about creativity, it's not necessary and compulsory to be an extrovert.
Okay. So after MBA, so you got a PPO at
Right.
PepsiCo, right? So when you started, what was your first stint like? So again, there's a lot of concern that students have that first stint is going to be in sales, and they will put you in some remote location, which may not be very comfortable. So again, what was your first stint like, and the overall experience at PepsiCo?
So I actually joined as a management trainee in sales. So a management trainee stint was a year-long stint, and it's a cross-functional stint. So we started off in our salesperson stint, then moved to the sales executive stint. So I did get a lot of on-ground knowledge, where I worked as a salesperson, I worked as a delivery agent, and I think that's the best experience. I mean, looking back, if you ask me, at that point of time, I was wondering why I was doing this. But now when I look back, I think that's the best experience that I've had. So you do start in a tougher area where you are pushed out of your comfort zone. So you do end up working as a salesperson, a delivery agent, then a sales executives, and then you move into an ASM stint. So generally in FMCG, from what I've experienced and from what my peers have experienced, your first role will be in sales. So after you have a management training stint, then you get confirmed as an ASM. And I know this is a massive misconception that sales is just a stepping stone, but I do see it now. Sales is very important. If you don't understand the market, you're not going to be able to execute even your marketing strategies in a proper manner.
Okay. And what other careers they can look at? So after sales and marketing, so FMCG sales is what you have worked in. What other opportunities exist? So if you can share some of the top career options at this point of time.
So for someone who's done sales and marketing, I think one of the things that people would look for generally is FMCG. So that is one place where you can start, where you can do sales or marketing. Similarly, you have other industries too. I have a lot of friends who moved into FMCG sector. A lot of friends are actually in strategy consulting. So it's not necessary that you're going to be bucketed into a particular industry or a particular function. I know some people, I have some peers and some juniors who've actually moved into analytics roles after doing sales and marketing.
PepsiCo 4 years, right? So, and you were in different cities as well.
Yes, I
So,
was.
if you can think of that journey that you had, what were some of the unique experiences that you got?
So, like you said, I was actually in multiple cities. So I started my management training stint in Mumbai, and then I was in Chennai as an independent ASM for 3 months, which was a very different experience for me. The language was a massive barrier, but if you ask me to pick a time which I loved the most, I think that's probably one of the top times that I loved the most. The 3 months that I spent there in Chennai is something that I cherish, and I always look forward to going back to Chennai. It taught me how to work with a team even when there's a language barrier. Then post my Chennai stint, I then moved to Gujarat. So I was the ASM for South Gujarat, based out of Surat. And after that, I moved to Gurgaon. So I have stayed in a couple of cities during my 4 years at PepsiCo. And obviously, you do face a lot of challenges along the way. But I think that is what makes you grow and helps you understand better and be a better sales or marketing individual. And some of the memorable things I think that I had was, like I said about the Chennai stint, I think a lot of it is centered around getting along with my team. A lot of my experiences, and that's something that I've noticed in sales and marketing, a lot of it is centered around other people. Because the core of sales and marketing is to ensure that you're able to get their trust, you're able to get their buy-in. So I think that is where that is something that I really enjoyed and that I look back and I think it's a very fond memory for me.
Okay, so when you think of titles, right? So there's area sales manager, you are perfect store lead.
Yes.
So what do these things mean? So what is the responsibility of an ASM? What does a perfect store lead do? And if you can walk through, let's say, a typical day. So how would a typical day look like?
So an area sales manager and a perfect store lead are very different roles. So an area sales manager is a core sales role. It's a field job. So you'll be involved and responsible for the day-to-day functioning, the day-to-day numbers of that specific geography.
Okay.
So for me, it was South Gujarat. So I was responsible end to end to ensure that the sales are taking place in South Gujarat. So that involves communicating with your distributors, with your the supply chain teams, with your team, with your salespersons, with the retailers. So a normal day would look like attending a gate meeting at a distributor point and then going to market with your team and identifying what the pain points are, speaking to retailers, and then obviously coming back and then trying to identify the white spaces. And alongside that, it also involves ensuring that your products are reaching the marketplace and are reaching the CFAs and the distributor points in the correct timelines. On the other hand, Perfect Store, though the Perfect Store lead role, it was a part of the trade marketing team. So I was based at the headquarter in Gurgaon, and this is a very strategy-oriented role. So it's a very strategic role where we used to identify what strategies we can use and come up with different strategies to ensure that we're placing the right product in the right outlet, which is all about MSLs, which is the must-sell list. So that was more on the visibility aspect, and that was at a pan-India level. So that helped me understand the geography of India in a better manner and work with more people. So for me, as a Perfect Store lead, a regular day on most occasions would be actually working on data and identifying where our opportunity areas are, and then speaking to the teams who are on ground there and helping them solve their problems. I think the main crux of being in the Perfect Store lead role was a problem solver role. So you are solving problems that they are facing and you're making their life easier.
Okay, so you mentioned data a lot. So
Yes.
the ASM as a role,
Yes.
Do you do a lot of data analysis there as well?
You do a lot of data analysis there, especially when it comes to understanding which product should you sell or which product is resulting in lower sales. But if you compare that with the Perfect Store role, I would say you do more data analysis in the Perfect Store role.
So now for students who are aspiring for a career in sales and marketing, right, what skills they should start developing? So a lot of our listeners are going to be students who are, say, in the pre-final year, final year, or have just started working somewhere, pre-MBA candidates, right? So what skills they should start developing from now on, which will help them to be a successful sales and marketing professional?
I think I would say you can bucket this into two categories. The first would be your hard skills and the second would be your soft skills. So when it comes to hard skills, I think one of the most important things would be the analysis part. You understand Excel. It's important to understand Excel. It's very important to understand how to use dashboards. Organizations are now moving on to Power BIs. So it's very important to learn that. For me, I did not learn Power BI when I was in JBIMS. I did learn it on the job in my last role at Pepsico. So I feel that's something important. Even if you don't know that, just understand how are you going to analyze data? What are the different cuts that you're going to look at? How deep are you going to go into the analysis? And the second, when it comes to soft skills, I think the most important skill would probably be people management. And that's because, like I said, trust is the most important thing in sales and marketing. You have to get along with people. You have to keep your cool. You're going to meet people who are going to be very different. They're going to be vastly different from you. They'll have different experiences. They'll be at different stages of life. They would have a different upbringing. So you're not going to get along with everyone, but you still have to make sure that your work is getting done. So I think people management, both down, across, as well as managing up, I think all three of them matter a lot.
Since you mentioned people management, right, when you started your career, there are instances where there are people reporting to you.
Yes.
Who are elders to you.
Yes.
So was that a challenge for you? What did you do to ensure that you are having that sort of an authority over people? Because for them it's like they have worked on the ground for several years, and now they're reporting to you. You're just out of MBA.
Yes.
So how did you handle that?
You're right. So I think this is a challenge that everyone faces because most of them would have more experience than you do. So for example, I had a team of 4 that I was leading in South Gujarat, and most of them had been in Pepsico for the last 3 to 5 years at least. And they were very experienced. And suddenly I was a management trainee who was actually their manager and their boss, and then they had to listen to me and they had to report into me. However, initially it did cause a lot of friction. I'll be very honest with that. However, what I learned is that it's very important to understand the person at an individual level. So when I would go to market with them, I would just have general conversations which are not work related, but just about their personal life, about their children, about their family, their interests, what they like doing outside of work. And I think that helped break the ice. So much so that even today I still get updates from them about their children. And I think it's very sweet in that way because that helped me get along with them. I think more than that, because you're a manager, they have to do what you say because you also are responsible for how their career would be. I think more than that, it's a bit more difficult when you're in a role which is an individual contributor role, like the perfect store lead role, because here you don't have people reporting into you, but you have to get work done from people. So that's when people management will be more important, in my opinion.
And the data analysis part of it, right?
Yes.
So you mentioned Power BI. So there's sudden advent of AI that has
Yes.
happened in the last couple of years. Has the role of a sales and marketing professional changed because of AI?
Um, in my opinion, in FMCG, at least the experiences that I've had, we don't really use AI in our day-to-day functionings for sales and marketing in the core jobs. However, it is being implemented right now in the analysis and automation aspects of it, but it's still in the early stages and it's still being explored completely. If you talk about core sales and marketing, I personally don't think it has been replaced by AI because the heart of sales and marketing is people. It's about understanding people behavior, understanding shoppers, consumers, and the execution aspect. And I don't think AI can actually take over that.
So for students who are again just going to enter their B school now, because a lot of them will also be watching this, how do they make the most of their MBA experience? So what are the things that you did which you think helped you, maybe in terms of competitions, case study competitions and things like that? So what can they do over the next 2 years which will help them to have a better career in sales and marketing?
So I was very unfortunate in the sense that I actually didn't get to experience the MBA life. I was on campus, I think, for 6 or 7 months before lockdown hit. So most of it was online, but I think that helped me figure out different ways in which I can still get an experience. So I think one of the most important things which I feel that I did is to get an understanding, on ground understanding of what sales is, of what marketing is, and what it actually involves. So for that, I actually did a couple of live internships.
Okay.
I did a couple of live projects and a couple of internships actually. And so the Pepsico was one of the internships that I did, and I did 2 live projects across across the period of 2 years, which helped me understand what sales and marketing actually is. And I think that's when it becomes very important to understand what it really involves, what the day-to-day functioning is, and not just making a decision by what you imagine it is. So if you see yourself doing it, I think that's when live projects and internships help. Also, something else that helped me was to speak to a lot of seniors and alums. I did reach out to a couple of seniors and alums who are still some of my mentors and my biggest cheerleaders today. And I think their experiences is something what helped me, and yeah, I think those are probably the couple of things that I would suggest.
Okay. And what about career progression? So once you do your MBA in sales and marketing, let's say after 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, how does the career progression look in, let's say, FMCG sales?
Yeah. So at around the 5-year mark, you would probably be getting a solid foundation on sales and marketing. So you would have done your ASM stints, your trade marketing stints, your category management stints, various stints, maybe a key account manager, various stints like that. Around the 10-year mark, though, you would be leading functions. So, for example, you might be heading retail environment, or you might be the head of trade marketing, the entire trade marketing vertical, or the GTM strategy piece, which is based out of the headquarter, or even in the units of the branches. Around the 15-year mark, though, you are actually leading P&Ls. So you're overseeing the P&Ls, you're leading a business unit. So it can be one of the branches, it can be one of the units, like the West unit, the South unit that you would be leading. So that's where you would be at around the 15-year mark. And I think the 20-year mark is all your CXO levels. So at the 20-year mark, you would ideally be maybe someone who is a vice president of sales or the CMO, or you might be leading a region, depending on the decisions and the choices that you've made along the way. So I think this is what a career path would generally look like. Obviously, there are a lot of variations to this.
And any particular thing that you think you should have known earlier before getting into sales and marketing?
piece of advice that was given to me by my manager, my current manager at Mondelez. And this was when I was interviewing coincidentally for the role. During the interview, he actually told me one thing which has still stuck to me. And I think that's a very important piece, which said that you should always find ways to connect with people. And that again ties in with how I was talking about people management. So I think his point is that connecting with people, identifying what is their trigger, what helps them, what will make their life easier, is probably the most important thing. Even if I don't think it's just in sales and marketing, I think even in life, connecting with people is what's going to help you. Connecting with your sales teams, getting knowledge from them, speaking to the distributors, the retailers. I think that's what is the most important thing. And I wish I was told this earlier, because I think I could have made some changes along the way too.
Okay, so the world of sales and marketing, right?
Right.
So it's evolving at a very fast pace. So two questions here. One is, how do you see changing it, let's say, over the next 4-5 years? And the second is, how do you keep yourself updated? So in terms of what other brands are doing all over the world, what strategies are being used. So where do you get your knowledge from? What kind of things do you read, follow? If you can share those things, students can also start looking at them.
A lot of consumers are actually purchasing from e-commerce platforms now. E-commerce is rising, and even modern trade for that matter. If you go and visit a kirana store, and if you speak to the retailer, they themselves will tell you that a lot of people are now purchasing online, and they are actually, the footfall as such is reducing. So I think that's where the shift is. So if you talk about career aspects also, I think working in the e-commerce industry, or just doing an e-commerce role in an FMCG or FMCD organization, I think that's also something that's very important, because that's a skill that you should be learning. That's something that you should learn. And to keep myself updated, I think that again ties back to what I just mentioned about how you go and speak to a retailer. I think I learn the most from market. I think reports and decks cannot teach you what you actually learn in market. So going to market, speaking to your sales team, speaking to your distributors, retailers, your peers, your colleagues, your mentors, I think that's something that gives you the best learning. So when I go to market, I try to understand why is an element placed. I try to observe shoppers, especially when you go to a modern trade store. You try and observe shoppers on how are they purchasing, what is their behavior, where are they looking, what is the line of sight for them. And apart from this, in case there's something interesting that I note in market, maybe a new POP that's been placed, I do make a note of it and try to look it up online. So I think more than journals or reports, I think this is the best form of learning, to be honest.
Okay, and do you watch a lot of YouTube as well? Any particular, let's say, podcast or anything that you would like to recommend related to marketing, brands, etc.?
I don't really watch too many podcasts as such, but if I have to recommend a book, because I do read books instead, I would probably recommend Shoe Dog. That's probably a book that a lot of people have recommended, but I think that helps you. That book has really taught me a lot.
Shoe Dog by Phil Knight.
Yes, Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. And that's, I think, one of the best books that you can read. It covers all the aspects of what it takes to build a business, and it also teaches you a lot of different aspects, just about how, especially about consumer behavior. Because a lot of it, I remember this incident about him going to Japan, and how they read up on the customs, and the people, the Japanese people, the Japanese customs, they read about that. And then they went and spoke to the owners there. So I think that is a book that I would recommend.
Interesting. Okay. Now, let's say somebody comes to you and the person had just entered the MBA, or let's say pre-final year thinking of MBA. What is that one advice that you will give this person? And it need not be about sales and marketing. It can be general advice as well. But what is that one piece of advice that you would want to share?
I think the one piece of advice that I would want to share probably is that, I mean, if you are thinking of doing an MBA, and if you're pivoting a career like I did from sales to from law to sales and marketing, just go for it. If you have even a little bit of doubt that or you're inclined that I might be interested, I might be more interested in this, and there are people who are telling you that no, maybe it's not a good idea, I would say just go for it. Because I think today, if you ask me, that's probably the best decision I made.
Okay, Isha, so we covered a lot of things. Thank you so much for taking out time from your busy schedule and doing this for our students.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me, actually.
So this was our episode focusing on sales and marketing. Hope all of you found this useful. We're going to have more episodes in the future. So stay tuned. Subscribe to the IMS channel if you haven't done it already. We'll see you soon. Bye.